The path to mitigate climate change is increasingly a focus for companies right around the world in just about every industry. I'm here joined now by Varad Pande, who is Partner and Director of Climate and Sustainability for Boston Consulting. Varad, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much.
You've got a very, very interesting career. Can you tell us how you come to be sitting here today?
Sure. I've been very fortunate that I've had a career in social impact, public policy, cutting across government, private sector and foundations. So I've seen the problems of social impact, but more recently climate change from different vantage points. And I think what keeps me up at night is the fact that we need a lot more money going into solving what I would call is the most existential problem of humanity, which is climate change.
How do we solve that problem? I mean, the funding gap is immense when it comes to funding climate change. Absolutely immense. How do we solve that problem?
Yeah, look, you're right. We actually need 5 times more capital than we are currently spending on climate change every year from now to 2050. So that's the scale of the challenge. The problem is that not only is not enough money is going in, but whatever money is going in is only going to part of the problem. So things like adaptation and resilience, which are becoming increasingly important because we are getting locked into harms, are highly underfunded. Money to the global south in Asia is much less than what it needs to be. The funding gap actually is a lot more. So we really need to galvanize to raise a lot more climate finance. Now the good news, I think everybody knows we have a problem. Everybody is on the table talking about it, trying to find solutions, and this conference is a great example of it. But we are, I think, just beginning, and we have a long way to go.
Financing is your speciality. You know, when you look at the type of innovative financing that is required to meet this funding gap, where do you think the solution lies?
I think we all need to raise our hands, and we need different stakeholders and pools of capital to come together to solve this problem. I always say different capital providers have different strengths. Governments lead by example, set the policy context, make initial investments. The private sector gets money to scale in much large numbers. Philanthropies have capital that is nimbler than government and is more patient than the private sector. So we need a massive new partnership that brings together public, private, philanthropic to solve this problem, and that's where this whole concept of blended finance, on which a lot of hope rests, comes in.
So what is different to what is happening today? Because there are some blending finance solutions that are out there already. Collaboration has been proven not necessarily to be an easy path, potentially the right path, but not necessarily an easy one. So bring this all together for us and tell us what tomorrow looks like in terms of funding.
Sure. So firstly, just a word on blended finance, because it's not very well defined. I think the idea is very simple. The idea is that you need, as I said, 5 times more capital than we currently have on climate change. That's not going to happen automatically. We need large amounts of private capital to come in. It's not coming on its own because there are perceptions of risk around climate investing. So can we get small amounts of concessional, more patient capital and mix it and blend it with private capital so that much larger amounts of private capital can flow and we can have the kind of investments that we need. As an example, when we are trying to build a solar farm in a developing Asian country, today there are constraints that private investors say around bankability of the project, regulatory or political risks that might arise. But if there was something that provides a risk guarantee to the private investor, the project's economics may become more attractive and viable for the private investor, and they may write a large check to make that solar project happen. And there are many examples, as you said, of this already. The problem, unfortunately, is that the walk is ahead of the talk, and a lot of these blended finance deals and vehicles are relatively small at this point. We need that to change. I think we are seeing a lot of interest to do things at a much larger scale. We are seeing new platforms that bring together governments, private sector, development finance institutions, MDBs, multilateral development banks together to do this. In Asia, we have something called IFCAP, which was funded by the Asian Development Bank and many other donors, which is trying to do exactly that, which is saying $1 in, $5 out of capital. So I think we need more of those things at a much larger scale to happen. And I think a lot of the smart minds of the world today are trying to sort that out.
So you just talked about something interesting which also plays a part, and that is, of course, the role of technology in terms of where the future lies in this type of financing solutions.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, no, I think technology has a massive role in the fight against climate change more broadly. I would say that there are 3 or 4 important use cases which can be unlocked using technology. Whether we think of measuring climate emissions better, technology can play a massive role in doing it at lower cost, more real time, rapid pace, higher quality. When we think about disaster resilience, we see a massive role for technology to help us get smarter in measuring risk, in estimating the cost of inaction, and in doing disaster preparedness and rapid response. And then, other areas such as oceans, valuing the blue economy and doing better ocean accounting so that we are able to count the wealth that is literally under the sea is another use case where technology can play a very important role. I think on climate finance per se, I think the role of data platforms so that we get a much better handle on how much money is flowing, where is it going to, are commitments that are being made on the high table being met, to what extent. That kind of transparency is something technology can play a very important role in over the next few years.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great talking to you.